Hi, this is Patti Lucia with Inspiring Videos, and I am here, and this is part of Nutrition and Cooking with Patti, and I am here with a friend and colleague, Zai Bajipura, who is the founder of Show and Heal, which is her own nonprofit organization, and she's going to talk a little bit more about that. But I really wanted to have a conversation with Zai because, like so many of us, we have these ideas and we have these dreams, and then we endeavor to follow them. And then there are a lot of experiences along the way, and hopefully, and most of the time, they are growing kinds of experiences, even though sometimes they can be challenging. Perhaps the most challenging experiences are the most growthful ones, unfortunately. But at any rate, my first question is to you, Zai, is starting your own nonprofit is, quite an endeavor. I mean, I've thought about starting my own nonprofit for years, and then I kind of get overwhelmed, and then I don't. There are people who have suggested that I do that years and years ago, and I didn't. So I know that it really takes a lot of determination to push through all of the challenges associated with starting one's own nonprofit. So, I kind of wanted to start there, and then we can talk a little bit more about you personally. But I wanted to start there. Like, what was your inspiration, and what kind of kept you going?
Okay, so namaste, Patti, and namaste, audience. That means the light in me honors the light in you. And what inspires me, I guess I've seen and interacted with thousands of people from all different backgrounds and cultures, and what I heard was not similar or was not accurate about these different people. And so my interaction with so many different groups of people, especially children, have given me faith in humanity, and my life's mission is to make every child feel accepted, included, and loved. Some of my inspirations have been traveling. I've traveled to the Netherlands and learned about human trafficking of women and children. Everyone is trafficked, boys and men too. And I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to, with all the human rights violations in the world, I couldn't just live my life without acknowledging it and doing something about it. Then I've also traveled to India for 5 weeks. I was in all different parts of India, whether the slums, villages, mountains, and cities. And I saw that there were kids, again, that were being discriminated because of just where they lived, whether it was in the jungles, and they weren't seen as part of the caste system. People were treated differently because of their last name or because of their religion. And they also, growing up in America, I'm seeing a lot of racial, class, economic, religious differences and in treatment. So for me to so those are some of the inspirations. What inspires me, again, are children. If we can build strong children, then we're going to be building strong adults. We're going to be empowering them to be more conscious of themselves and the impact they can make in the world.
So, when you say if we can build strong children, and I kind of love that statement. How do you see that? What's involved in that, building strong children, in your view? Because I think that's a lot of what you're trying to do in your work.
So, to build strong children, we have to show love, and who children are and how they've been received and loved on will really make a difference in their life. And so, for me, in my eyes, it's basically love and acceptance. Because if a child can grow up to believe in themselves and their capabilities and know that they will be successful because they have encouragement and the positive supports, then they will be able to achieve anything they want.
So it really does come down to if you're loved enough and accepted enough as a child, then you'll really be able to do anything. Now, when you say successful, how do you define that?
Yeah, I know. So I've had that question myself. I'm like, well, everyone's definition of success is, and I mean success in their eyes. Whatever
like
they
how
do.
they define it.
Yeah, how they define it, and it's
Yeah.
success in whatever they decide to
Right.
do.
And I guess if they're loved enough, then they'll have the confidence and the self respect and everything to be able to determine that themselves without succumbing to um, how other people want to define success for them, which is so much of what many of us have experienced. Like how things are dropping in the garden. But so many of us have had that experience, and your experience growing up in your in your cultural background, your family background, how has that contributed to your passion and your determination to do what you do?
So I grew up in San Francisco, California, which is probably one of the most liberal cities in the world. And then I also grew up in a very traditional Indian family, from a very conservative town in India. So
that your family, this conservative family, was in San Francisco.
Exactly. And so I saw a lot of, I learned about a lot of different belief systems that clash with my family's value systems. And so it made me conscious, like, okay, there's different paths, in one's life. And I saw one in my household, and I saw another one when I was, multiple ones when I was in San Francisco. It is very diverse, and so I was meeting people from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Different cultures, different sexual orientations, genders, income levels, and I work with kids that were from all different income levels too in parts of the world as a outreach advocate for children who are on the streets, formerly homeless youth, incarcerated youth, kids that were from just like multicultural backgrounds, and I created support systems in high schools so that they have a safe space to share common, issues that they're dealing with.
Right.
And then, so also I grew up in a very patriarchal society, or the Indian culture is seen as very patriarchal, and so like I guess the reason I'm who I am today is because I noticed difference in treatment because of my gender, my skin color, my culture, and I knew it was wrong when I was younger. You get ridiculed, you're teased if you stand up, and it like wanted me to be silent. Like it made me want to not speak up because I was going to be mocked. And eventually, like through time and seeing the truth of like who people really are, and seeing that we're more connected and there's more that we have in common than different, it's inspired me to speak up. It's given me the confidence to speak up about this. And when I do, there are people that support me, and there are people that are supporting the cause of Show and Heal. Because inclusion is the answer.
So, talk a little bit more about Show and Heal, your organization. Like, what do you do every day? Well, you do Show and Heal, but also you're a teacher. So, how about if you talk a little bit about your teaching, your experiences as a teacher, and then we'll get into Show and Heal.
Okay, so I am a teacher at public high school, the largest school in Palm Beach County. So I spend, the full-time work hours at school, and then in the evenings and weekends, I dedicate to Show and Heal, as well as I incorporated a Show and Heal club at the high school. So there's a social media component and community events, but then there's also we have a face-to-face interaction with the kids to teach them all about self-care, nutrition, yoga, fitness in the school setting, social skills. So my experience as a teacher is that I'm an ESE, or special education inclusion teacher, working in 24 U.S. history classes. And this is my third year of teaching, and I love it. I'm meeting kids again from all over the world, from all diverse backgrounds, and I could see myself in the children. I grew up, had immigrant parents, and there's a lot of peer pressure, and there's a lot, I guess another reason for who I am today is that, I try to fit in. I try to do everything correctly. I try to dress a certain way, act a certain way, speak a certain way, look a certain way, and it's like, no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't successful. So now I just choose to be my authentic self, and my authentic self is being a teacher, and then also addressing the need of exclusion and are the effects that the school is having on children that may not be that positive. Like that's what I'm going to be doing.
So, yeah, I mean, and what I hear too, in what you're saying, which is so satisfying to me, is that really the answer is love. It's always going to come down to love and acceptance, and we can call some of what we do like social emotional training or skill building or whatever, these fancy names that the schools like to kind of incorporate, because they know that we're kind of in trouble. Like they know that our kids are in trouble. They're in trouble. I mean, they're struggling. They're having a hard time with all of these issues. But really, when it comes down to that they need much more love and acceptance for who they are. And so tell us a little bit more about Show and Heal, and kind of how long it's been around and how it's evolved, and what your plans are for it.
Okay, so we became a business in Florida in 2016, and we so it's been 3 years, and we started just doing video documentaries. I moved here from San Francisco, and I had a culture shock. I thought, I had a culture shock. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them, right?
Yes.
So I had a culture shock, and I was in the public school system, and I also worked at a residential therapeutic facility, and students were calling me different names. They had thought I was someone I wasn't because of just depictions they've seen of people of my skin color on the news, social media, and media.
Right.
So they were calling me terrorist, Osama bin Laden, Muslim. They even thought Muslim was an evil religion when they hadn't even met anyone from that background. And so it dawned upon me that I needed to educate these children about various cultures they may not commonly interact with. And they also they were just very curious too. They were like, oh, what does this mean? The dot on my forehead, or what is the henna that I'm wearing about? What's this top? Where do you get your clothing from? So there's a natural curiosity that children have. And unfortunately, it kind of like dissipates when they're adults. And then during that time, there's a lot more judgments and stereotypes that you're seeing as an adult. And people are so afraid. And that's really what separates us, is fear. Yeah. Once we get older, we're afraid of what's different. When we're young, we really want to know about different things.
We're more curious. Yeah, we're more curious. Definitely, we're kind of fearless when we're young. That kind of gets learned along the way, gets programmed into us. And so, tell us more about what you do now currently with Show and Heal.
So then, let me just finish that other part. Yeah, because in 2016 is when I realized like the kids were getting all this misinformation from media, that I wanted to use social media because kids learn visually, right? Like humans process images 60,000 times faster than text. So I wanted to use the medium that they're on, like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, in order to get this accurate depiction of cultures. And so we started to interview kids who wear turbans for their religion, and we talked about their aspirations, a little bit about what their religion is about, which is about peace and not violence, but they've been commonly seen as terrorists because of the turban. And then we also interviewed LGBT, so a few people from the LGBT community, Muslims also, and indigenous people, Haitians, African Americans, Canadians too. We went to Canada in the summer. And when I came back, I realized that, okay, so we have this social aspect, and we know kids are spending a lot of time on social media, but they lack social skills. They don't know how to have a conversation with someone who's sitting right next to them. So I wanted to address that in a face-to-face way, in person, where kids are away from their phones for an hour. Okay. And learn about mindfulness, being aware of their emotions, feelings, having tools to handle whatever comes their way, whether It's grief, anxiety, depression. We introduce that your mental health has a lot to do with your physical health, your emotional health. So we want to feed good food, so we only bring in healthy food for the kids. Fresh fruits and vegetables, unprocessed foods. We've brought in yoga, meditation, mindfulness, mindful eating,
all really, really important.
gratitude, empathy. So there's a game, it's called the empathy game, and a student will ask a question like, have you ever gone through this?
Right.
And then whoever has, they also raise their hand. And so some of the questions like, first of all, like, do you have a brother? Do you have a sister? And then when someone says, no, I'm the only child, then you're like, it sparks more conversation. We get to learn about each other. And then there's other questions like, have you been discriminated? Do you have anxiety? So these are things that kids are going through, and they're seeing like, okay, who else? And ultimately they realize that, hey, I'm not the only one going through this.
Yeah.
And I feel safe. And it's a safe space for kids to be who they are. And we have people that are from different religions, different skin colors, nationalities, income levels, gender, sexual orientation, just what diversity is, right? And it's kids are seeing connections like, oh, I like the art that you do, or congratulations on publishing your book. So kids are giving each other accolades, and they're building themselves up, and they're having fun because we're a team.
So you structured this to be an actual club, like to be like a sponsored club in a high school. Do you see that this might be something that could grow into other high schools?
That's definitely the plan. Yeah.
That's the plan, is to expand into other high schools.
Yeah, to have
as a club.
So there is going to be a club. I feel like there's after school programs for STEM, which is like technology, science, and math, engineering, right? And so there's all these after school programs focused on that. But self-care and like self-love, service to yourself is equally important in order to be successful in any of those fields. So at an early age, we need to be teaching this. And it's so, yes, you want to do it after school, but health education, self-awareness needs to be a standard too. And we want to have a curriculum that's a class, mandatory class in schools. But that's a very future,
that's down the road.
future ideal vision of what Show and Heal is. And we're going to continue to make documentaries. We have still many videos from the Hispanic segment and Latino segment that's coming out. Every couple of weeks we'll post a new interview. And then we have the Muslim segments to come out after that.
Wonderful.
In the future, we want to do interviews about the Hindu caste system, and even speak and be able to mix and build relationships with the supposedly untouchables in India. Then girls also in America as well as India.
Who are the untouchables in India?
They're seen as like the lowest caste in the Hindu caste system, and so they may be doing work that is considered filthy. Whether it's cleaning public toilets. And this is actually the group of people that Gandhi was humanizing in his work and in his endeavors, and he wanted to see that everyone was equal. So then mental health is also a very key one, because mental health is intersects everyone.
Well, how do you address that in a high school club setting though? Like, how do you do that?
Address the mental health aspect?
Yeah.
So there's a variety of ways. Like, everything we're doing is about education and getting the tools to help you feel better about yourself.
Right.
So if we're promoting eating well, you're treating yourself better. And so that's going to make you feel better mentally. Physical exercise or yoga, we're bringing that in order, again, to end up loving on yourself.
It's really like mind, body, spirit, like all the interconnectedness of everyone and the interconnectedness of these aspects of ourselves. Got it. Yeah.
And like, I think what's unique about our nonprofit is that we give community service hours for giving service to yourself. Like, we think community service is a beach cleanup or feeding the homeless, but in reality, like, we're not going to be effective in any of these aspects, like service to others, if we're not serving ourselves first. So I promote service to ourselves, and then they will be effective, great leaders in whatever they do. and they will want to have others love and accept themselves, take care of themselves too.
Right, because they've gotten there themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I love it. Is there anything else you want to add? There's so much. I feel like we've touched on so many things, so I want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
All right, so I know you had asked about like what are some of the challenges.
Yeah,
of starting
the challenges of actually doing this kind of this endeavor. The challenges, well, of starting it and keeping it going. It's a lot of work. So.
Well, I didn't know how much work it was before I started the nonprofit, because I was like, oh, now we're a nonprofit, we can get grants, and this will be the
money
easy.
Will just be falling on my lap.
So no, and that's why actually I was really focused on trying to like push through, get the application done, to be able to afford the application and pay for people to help us put the videos together and to come in, and that was actually probably something that I learned from, is that I can't put like everything in my life on pause. That I need to still be taking care of myself, and I can't sacrifice certain things that are important to me because I'm thinking like I got to put the nonprofit first, because it's going to take 10 plus years, depending on circumstances, of really bringing Show and Heal up to the level that we know it can be on an international level, national, regional, local, in the school system. So not knowing has helped. Also, surrounding myself around people that have strengths that are different than mine to aid me in this process. Mentors and other people who have organizations has helped.
Yeah. It's interesting. You have an organization where the kind of like the center point is that teaching young people in particular how to do self-care. And you have to take care of yourself before you take care of others. And yet, while you're building this organization, it's the very thing that you need, that you have to always be mindful to keep in balance. It's like, I have this great vision. This is kind of where I want to go, but I can't put me on hold. I still have to kind of take care of myself, accept myself, love myself, be patient with myself. All of those things.
So Show and Heal really helps me heal too. Like we're advocating for this, so it like makes me be more present, mindful. Like, okay, wait, I need to be taking care of myself. So it does go hand in hand, and I'm happy that I ended up evolving into this, because we didn't always have this club in mind. We didn't have this face to face. And peace before. So it definitely helps, and then having a strong support system too, because sometimes it can feel alone, like when you're in a role that takes a lot of energy out of not in a draining way, but I exert a lot of energy in everything that I do, whether I'm teaching, Show and Heal, in my extracurricular activities, personal life. That's just who I am, a very passionate human being. And then I need to also be able to refuel around other people who are equally in a similar position, and also giving up. I'm not saying giving up our life, but really putting our life for a higher purpose.
You want to kind of strive to towards that higher purpose without sacrificing your life, and that's a hard balance, I find, particularly for women. Like, we have a tendency to kind of put ourselves last on the list, and then before you know it, we're depleted, and there's we have an empty gas tank and there's nothing left to give. Exactly. So it's just kind of I think it's kind of a really interesting position for you to be in terms of this organization, which is all about self-care, self-nurture, and that you have your own journey that you can share along the way. Because I think what's so compelling about any of the things we do, whether it's a small business like myself, a nonprofit like yourself, the most powerful and compelling things are our stories. Are the stories we tell, and the stories the kids tell, the stories that it's kind of story driven, So anyway, I love that.
Yeah, all of our videos tell stories.
It's all about the story.
The kids love to show their story too, because you can't judge them. You can't really know someone's struggle just from looking on the surface.
Right.
And their struggles that we face as human beings, that is universal.
Absolutely. So the stories are key.
And
Well,
another, I was going to say also that in the beginning when I was considering starting Show and Heal, and I did receive a lot of negative comments too, and I think people need to be aware. Like, you may not always want to share. Be careful with who you share your ideas with, because there's going to be a lot of doubters, haters. Haters. But in general, it's like you really got to stick to your truth. And for me, it was like I knew firsthand what was going on. I'm in the trenches every day when I work with kids from all backgrounds, and so like I know they're dealing with a lot of emotional, physical, mental needs that have to be addressed. So I was confident in what I was doing. But there were people like, you can't work with children. They won't be recorded, and the journalism is dead. But kids are into YouTube, and kids are into social media. They want to be heard because they feel like they're not. They're being silenced. And actually, social media has been one of the most useful ways that we have been able to distribute our information.
yes. On YouTube.
YouTube,
Mostly.
all social media, Instagram, Snapchat.
So if people want to find you, people want to find Show and Heal, see some of your videos, check your organization out online, where can they find you?
They can find us online everywhere. Basically, you can Google our name, Show and Heal, and we're like the first result. So you'll see our YouTube channel. You can go to our website, showandheal.org. Our Instagram, all of our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all of our social media handles are at Show and Heal.
Okay. And what if somebody wanted to get involved?
They could contact us through the website or email us at celebrate@showandheal.org.
Awesome. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, what a pleasure it's been for me.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. It's been awesome.
Yeah.